guys, this video I'm going to show you how to decorate some cookies. So I do a couple of different ones on here. This is from a Facebook Live that I actually did a while ago where it was jungle theme. So this is a bit of a sped up version and I'm going to talk you through what I did. So let's start with the feather shaped cookie cutters. So I've got a feather shaped cookie cutter and we've made some cookies. Now the ones that look slightly smaller are where I rolled the cookie dough thinner, and the ones that look like they've expanded, the dough was a bit thicker. So I pre-made those. Those are my gingerbread cookies. And we're going to use a pale pink for the fondant or sugar paste. So I'm going to cut it out using the same cookie cutter that I created the cookies from. So the feather shaped one on this. Guys, I'll put links below to what I've used as well. You can purchase most of the products that I'm going to use within my shop. I've stuck it to the cookie with a bit of royal icing. Now I use royal icing because it doesn't usually make my cookie go too soggy, but you know, you could try sticking it with other things. You can let me know in the comments below what you find works best for sticking your icing to your cookie with. So I'm just making the end of the feather a little bit thinner by cutting that out, and we'll just add the icing to a few. So I've gone actually probably thicker than I need to do with the fondant. So you can see as well, the bigger cookie, obviously the icing doesn't stretch to the edge, and what I'm doing is just rubbing it gently with my fingers so that it stretches a little bit, but also it makes the icing a bit thinner at that edge part. Again, cutting a little bit off the end of the feather. The quill, is it called the quill? I'm not sure, I'm not very good with these things. So what I'm going to do is from that line, we're going to put a line going up the centre of the feather, trying to curve it a bit so it matches with the shape of the feather. And then the other side, we're going to do another line. So I'm using my flower and leaf feiner or Dresden tool. You can get them in metal or plastic. So this is the metal one, the other one was my plastic one. They both do the same thing. The metal one's maybe a little bit pointier, a little bit sharper than the plastic one, but either's fine. It's left like a ridge in the middle by doing that. Then I'm going to use the metal or plastic, again, it's up to you, for putting the little lines in for like the sides of the feathers. So I'm pressing fairly firmly because I want it to kind of split and part a little bit, especially near the bottom of my feather. I want it to look like fluffier. And then I'm not pressing quite as hard as we come further up. So do the lines from the center point coming out towards the outside edge. And can you see mine have kind of got a little bit of a wave as they come out? So rather than having them just dead straight, I've tried to wave them and give them a little bit of movement. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. And here I'm just playing around with another tool. So guys, it doesn't matter if you don't have this tool in the video. I was just showing people different tools that you can create marks with. It doesn't actually show up as well in the video, but it created several lines at once, did that one. It's called the golf tool. It's a Serrat golf tool, but I'll link it below. If you want to look at it, you can look at it. But I think my preferred method for this one was just using the Dresden tool. And anywhere that you want the feather to look like it's kind of parting a bit, just press a little bit firmer so that you create a bit of a gap. But don't press so hard that you snap the cookie. So just be very mindful of that. And you can just repeat this for as many cookies as you want. And don't worry if they all look slightly different. That's fine. So once you've covered them all, you can put a bit of colour on. So I'm using some different food colours. I've got like a mix of different pinks. Again, I'll put links below to the ones that I've used, but you could choose whatever colours you wanted for this. I've diluted them with a bit of dipping solution, which is like clear alcohol. Just make sure it's food safe, whatever you're going to dilute it with. And I'm going for more white on the bottom end, so I want the bottom of my feather to be a little bit lighter. And I'm trying to go kind of across the lines rather than following the lines, because if I use the brush following the lines, the paint will go in between, and I don't want it to go in between those indentations. I want it to kind of just sit on the ridged bits that poke out, the bits that are kind of in relief. A little bit up the sort of centre of the feather, not too far up. So again, we're just concentrating more on the bottom section, and go for a slightly deeper pink near the top. So I'm starting not as dark as I want to go, and then I can always darken it. If you're not sure, put a little bit more dipping solution in. It will water down your paint a little bit further. When I say paint, it is food colouring that we're using, guys, so it is completely edible. If it's fairly thin, it won't give you too dark a colour. You can paint thicker if you want. I diluted it down because I did want a thinner food colour to work with. Now I used the ones that are actually paint form already, but you can just use the edible powders and mix them with the clear alcohol as well. So just to darken it up now, I don't know if you can see my palette, I've got a little bit of red, and I've just put a tiny dab of red in with the pink I was using before, which has just darkened the colour a little bit. And I'm spreading it from the outer edges, going inwards just slightly, but I'm not taking it too far in. And I don't want to go too far down on my feather either, because I want to keep the bottom section of my feather fairly light in colour. just running a tiny bit down the edge of the center line. You could go for a different colour for each feather if you wanted. If there's not enough of a colour difference between like the top and the bottom of your feather, just deepen that a bit more. So I've gone in with a bit more red. And then while that paint is still wet, I'm going to add some sprinkles so that it sticks to it. If you let your paint dry, or your food colour I should say, this sprinkles won't stick very well. Some of the larger ones I have to kind of press in by hand a little bit. Then the Prickle My Fancy sprinkles that I used on this, guys, I do sell them in my online shop, but I'll put links below as well. And I just wanted to see what some look like with a bit of gold. Again, edible paints that I've used, these are like a paint palette that you just activate with water. If you're putting gold on, I probably wouldn't paint the whole thing, although you can if you want. It really is up to you. I'm trying some gold leaf as well. So gold leaf, just make sure it's edible, the stuff that you're buying. Again, I'll put links, guys, to what I've used so you can use the same thing if you want to. I've actually put a tiny bit of water, not much, just a very tiny bit, on the cookie anywhere that I want this gold leaf to go. I don't want it to look neat, so I don't want like really exact shapes with it. And I'm just going over with a dry brush slightly just to kind of take the edges off of the gold that haven't stuck very well. Again, I think maybe some Prickle My Fancy. I do like the little cactuses in these ones. And then some of the smaller bits of the sprinkles on there as well. You don't have to cover the entire cookie in sprinkles. It looks nice with just a few. The larger balls have got chocolate in the middle as well, so it's not too hard and crunchy to bite them. The other cookies that I did make were the little heart-shaped ones, and we did some animal prints. Now, you guys won't see the big cake on this video, but I did do a big jungle-themed cake to go with all my cookies. That's why there's a bit of a jungle theme going on. So this one's actually a pebble stencil, so you can use it for making like pavements and stone. But I'm going to use it to create a giraffe kind of print because I thought it worked well. It looks a little bit mucky because I have just used it on the other cookies. So I've rubbed it in gently with a cake smoother, just so that I've not got any gaps under the stencil. And then I'm going to use like a paler brown, and I'm going to put it on with a big dry brush. And you don't want it too even, like try and go a bit darker in some areas and a bit lighter in others. Now mine sticks fine with the dry powder. If you want to paint it on wet, you can do, but it was a little bit less messy for me to do it this way. And you can use just one colour if you want, or you can use a mix of browns, so you might want to go like a slightly darker shade of the brown powder. Again, it's edible food powders that we are using here, guys. So if you had ages to spend, you could really, get this looking really realistic by putting the brown just around the very outer edge of each of these kind of pebble shapes. I've kind of just put it wherever. And then I'm going to use a cookie cutter that's the same size and shape as my cookie. So this time we went for hearts rather than feathers. You could put the animal prints on the feathers though as well if you wanted. So let's try another animal print, guys. I'm going to roll out my fondant again, and we're going to just put a bit of the powder down like a line. I've kind of put some on the side that I'm just playing around with. You can play around with stuff as well. Don't worry if it doesn't turn out exactly as you want. It's still edible. You can still eat it yourself. So this time we've got powder down the middle. We've kind of given it a bit of texture with a piping nozzle. So this is a grass piping nozzle. And then I've also tried to put some fur lines in with my Dresden tool. Then what I've done is gone over with shades of brown, but this time I've mixed them with some dipping solution or clear alcohol. It does evaporate, guys, so you're not eating the alcohol. And we're putting dots on in the different browns. So like a lighter dot in the middle, and then like darker brown kind of going around the edges of those dots. And you don't have to texture your fondant either. You can leave it without any texture. It really is up to you with whether you like it smooth or more animal-like. So once you're happy with it, you can cut out your cookies again. So using the same size cutter that you've used for your cookie. So I've made a different range of sizes for this, guys. So royal icing on your cookie, and then we're going to put the fondant on there. So just be careful, especially if the food colour is still a little bit wet. So a nice range of sizes in some animal prints. So that's it. That's a range of some of my animal prints. I think in the Facebook Live I did like a crocodile print one as well, but it was a little while ago, guys. But if you do want to check it out, it is still available over on my Facebook page if you fancy viewing that. And that one's in real time as well, so it's a much longer video. But I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please do check out my other ones. See you next week. If you liked the video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button and leave me a comment below. You can see more of my tutorials by clicking on the images on screen now. If you haven't already, make sure you click the subscribe button to stay up to date with my future tutorials. There are also links in the description box below where you can find me on Facebook, Instagram and more.